Hello and welcome to the first ever video on the PSRP Plus documents. I know it's very interesting of me talking about it because who am I? What am I doing? Can you please explain how you figured out that PSRP Plus is a thing? Well, that and more will be explained in this playlist right here. So, first things first, I am Pretty Apple Choir, and I made the documents along with my friend over the past few months, I would say, or even weeks, on the documents for PSRP Plus. And our goals are simple. 1. PSRP was dead once Hunter killed the game off. This is basically my main point with almost every single document, and with the motto on quote, there is no fixing PSRP. Number 2, probably guiding, if I were to be honest, on Annie trying to at least make their own take or try to help them out. Annie is very much incompetent when it comes to running a Discord server, or any server for that matter, so that's why these documents also exist. And then finally, the game itself. This is mainly convoluted to plagiarism, game moderation, and updates. So, without further ado, let's begin. As you can see, the document will be on the bottom corner, and everything that I'll say about it will be on the side of the document. So, without further ado, let's begin reading this. Firstly, the document was made around, I would say, December or even January, because that's when I was mostly focusing on making this document to begin with. And there will be, at some point during this, a showcase of what the original document have, because this is actually an edit of a docx file of this same document. So the document in mind was actually titled something different, and I'll pretty much show you on screen right now. These are the images that were practically the starting point for the document in mind. Now, I will explain in the third video of where it originated from, because that is very important to what happened and why the third document was created. So, basically, this was my friend's observation, and he told me all about this too, which is why I knew about it. So, we're gonna look it over, pretty much. The starting point. So this one in particular was the starting point for the cursor of PSRP ending and the precursor to PSRP Plus existing, because this game existed way before. In fact, they actually made the game existent for quite a while, let me tell you. The Discord server was made around October or November, because that is when the Discord and the game were still existent and were still in development. I will get into a little bit more of that section later, because there's an actual point of where I mention all these hypotheses in mind. Why am I mentioning all that? Simple. That's what the first image is about. Pretty much, I will mention that the game was known to Hunter, and yes, he did confirm it, And what happened was that Annie was permanently banned from the game and from the Discord, and they told them to actually remove the game. Backlash occurred, and Annie was unbanned from the game and Discord altogether because they wanted to talk about it. Now, they told them, word for word, to do a retake on the game. And I'll get into that a little bit later because that is something that I will conclude with. But the logistics of this part is that Annie pretty much got somebody to exploit for her behalf, and they exploited the PSRP game on Roblox directly. And that's pretty much it from this entire starting point here. It's literally just the beginning of it, but I will explain more of it later on because there is a tab that explains it entirely. What happened afterwards with the PSRP being closed off entirely is that Annie decided to just reinstate the game as is without actually changing it. In fact, they went as far as to removing the polls that were related to changing PSRP Plus to entirely something different on their own retake. This is mainly an image example of it, but here is what the polls looked like as you see on screen. Pretty much this is my recreation of it. That does not mean it is legitimately like that to begin with, nor is it very similar to that. This is pretty much my own spin and my own take of what the polls exactly looked like. Now, since I did cut off a major chunk of it, I will also mention the fact that they plan to also remake quite literally the models, as you'll see later on in the video. But unfortunately, their mind was set in stone and they pretty much wanted to keep it the same way. Next up is the moderation. Where do I begin with this? Because this is a rabbit hole itself, actually. So I will explain a few things. Firstly, I will explain the moderators and admins that used to be admins and moderators around this time. And I will also explain the moderators and admins during the entirety of all documents. So, when it comes to this part in particular, I will show who was moderator, admin, and head admin during this time because there's a lot to talk about. With Pan, Trav, and Taco, those are a separate story, however. And it is a very, very big, long story, if anything else. So they will not be mentioned here of how they got their status revoked. With Keems, the only person in mind, they were revoked simply because of Pan's moderation, like application status, of how that works. Pretty much they made it that you have to be 18 or older to do it, and Keems apparently was 16. He mentioned it in the Discord server himself, so sorry if I blurted that out. So, Keems was basically demoted and removed from the staff team. The beginning of it was very, very bad. Like, literally somebody was spamming NSFW images, and even one of the Pulse mods pointed that out. It was really bad. So, it was very terrible. There was no moderation done, and I even wanted to help out myself at the beginning, which is sad to this day. Oh, I also met my friend getting help from this entire thing at all, which is still not happening to this day. Do note, I mentioned this on his behalf, as I will show you here, because he has been pretty much wanting to help out with the community, and he even sent me images of what they wanted to implement inside the Discord server. This also possibly includes game moderation as well. And as of right now, with this recording, so far they haven't had a single DM, and the only time they ever talked was with a group chat, which I'm not going into on the behalf of what my friend told me about. So there was that, and the loopholes very much existed back then because nobody was enforcing the rules like they should be in a game that is aged 5 and up on Roblox. Another thing on top of that was, quite literally, they joked about the fact that Portuguese can also not be moderated, or it is not being moderated, which, I mean, it isn't at all still. They haven't hired a Portuguese moderator from what I can tell, and they certainly did not hire the person that Annie replied to at all. So, again, no Portuguese moderator to this day, and so far there's only 2 Spanish moderators. Well, Annie's the owner, so that's excluding, but there is 1 Spanish moderator and 2 English moderators. For the record, by the time of that recording specifically, this was a mix of stuff that's happening today and stuff that happened long ago. So for the short summary of the rundown for back then, there was Han, who was Spanish, Trav, who was English, Taco, who is unknown to me of whatever language they mainly spoke in, or whatever their secondary is. And with Radiance King, since he's the only remaining person at this time, I would assume possibly English. So, there you go. Keems, as well, since I did mention him, was also English. The TLDR, with those 2 in mind for the Spanish and Portuguese channels, even as of today by this video, is that no moderation is being done for those at all, and pretty much people could say whatever they want to say in Portuguese and Spanish. Now, this part in particular is about trial moderators. I will mention one thing about it. Trial moderators don't exist anymore, and the role has been entirely removed, so this part is kind of redundant. So I will do a quick TLDR for this. Simply to put, trial moderators used to exist back then as a way to transition them into moderator and admin. This one talks about how Annie did mention this too, but there was words that were censored inside the Discord server. They actually put in a Discord moderation when it comes to filtering words. But from what they mentioned, they only censored a few words, which unfortunately, due to YouTube guidelines, I'm probably not going to show them, or they're going to be censored, and that is it. That's all they did. And my complaint with it was that they aren't doing enough to actually censor a lot of words with these 3 images. Before I go off with the next part in mind, this was basically the forefront of me saying that GIFs and images were removed because of their inappropriate usage, which is why you can't use them in the general chats anymore. This one was an example my friend called out on, and pretty much I'll just read the entire thing to you in his own words. Firstly, If I do mention names, that is because the image shows it, and it's not for harassing them or anything, or saying, oh, they're bad. This is me simply reading out what the image states. Please do not harass them. The creator of Riotbot posts a YouTube link that basically shows somebody joining the... and then pranking them afterwards. My friend asked, is this allowed here? Now, the person that said yes will also be in that separate video with Pan and another person. The creator of Riotbot then says, I don't know, I'll remove it. Do I have to? I don't want to get taken away. I read rules. Does this count as racism? He's making fun of them, not helping them make fun of others. And then Traveler, a trial mod I would assume around this time, pretty much told Annie that I think this is wrong just in case. Here are the 3 reasons why this image was up there. Number 1, lack of common sense. In reality, the clan in mind is a racist organization, and even with them being pranked, it is not okay to show this in, again, a Discord server that hosts a game that is 5+ on Roblox. Secondly, the supposed moderation and supposed guessing that they think it is wrong. Now again, this is in the same category as lack of common sense, but this is on the moderation side. There is a common sense that anything related to this clan is not allowed. And then finally is the fact that literally people are just trying to at least defend it, which is what the Monica person is doing. And yeah, I don't think you should be really trying to defend that, because that basically tells that person that, hey, why are you saying yes to this? As funny as this sounds, this was later on used as evidence with a certain part in mind that is included in a video that is public today, but I'm not going to talk about it. What I am going to talk about is the fact that pretty much this dude left by, I would say, like, at least a certain time frame when the dramas were occurring, so he was already gone. Monica is gone because of a different reason, which I'm not going to get into. As with the thing itself, it has since been deleted. But that is still up there for people to see that they weren't thinking correctly when it came to this problem. That is the entirety of why that part of the document existed. Now, the next image up here, I'm probably going to censor it, by the way. This image right here, so the image that I was talking about, that's from Keems, please do not harass him by any means. This is just me talking about what's inside the documents, and this is not against anybody. But what he posted in there, it wasn't... I would say it's not mainly the text, but more so the image, or the profile icon, which is censored, by the way. Pretty much that was given off very heavily, and thank goodness for this one time. I am going to applaud him here for this. He actually deleted it, but it was the same cautiousness as before with the other video. He pretty much was uncertain if it was allowed, which, common sense lacking here, it probably wouldn't be allowed. But due to less enforcement, he didn't know what to do. The next one is another image from Keems. And this one was posting an image from what looks like to be a server, possibly a Discord server that they own or a group chat. But either way, they think that this is funny, a funny joke. Well, this part in particular, I'm probably just gonna do TLDR because I probably would explain it in the third video that I'm making, not the second one, but the third one. But I will say that that part of the message is still up to this day, as you can see right here. Now, I will say this should have been deleted already. If that is still up to this day, by the time that this, well, I'm just gonna mention it, remake of a video is done, then that is telling you immediately with concerns about how moderation is going, especially with what's going on right now. Here's a common tidbit that you will see from me in this point of these videos. People don't actually read. And how can you tell? Because of their lack of regard of reading the rules, or not knowing if it's against the rules, or that they said they read the rules but they posted it anyway. That will be a very common tidbit and a common trend from this point outwards, so there is your fair warning with that. Next thing up is posting something that should have been in player reports, but made it basically on a multimedia channel instead of reporting it. My friend complained about this because, one, it honestly shouldn't have been posted here to begin with, and two, it should have been mainly a player report instead, with them being censored, because my friend also censors content like this when they do a player report. This part in particular I will go onwards with in the second document. That will be a video on its own. But my TLDR for this is that admins, moderators, and head admins can't really do a lot of moderation in game. That is the gist of this. And then, as a way to close off this section, I put in the image of the rules. And I'll read them to you as you wish. So, I will read you all the rules right here and now. So, just as a reminder, these rules have been likely broken by the time this video is out. So here are the following. Number 1, no NSFW. Number 2, no drama. Number 3, be respectful to everyone. Number 4, respect our moderators, please. Number 5, no illegal content. Number 6, no links. Number 7, no at here or at mention spam. Number 8, no racism, hate speech, or any sort of hate in general. Number 9, no flirting or dating. Number 10, no trolling. Number 11, no spamming. And number 12, respect any art submitted by any user by giving their respective credits. And that is it. Now, this is where I had a lot in mind. So, you'll probably see a picture of it at some point while this video is being recorded, but this is what the original looked like. Ironically enough, I don't need to do this because this was included, and I'll mention it here, it was included in the conclusion video. So if you haven't watched that already, I highly recommend doing so right now, as you can see by the little thing on the top right corner, I believe is what it is. So yeah, click on that and it probably should take you of where I think is where the showcase of what the original document looked like. Now, what I was trying to do with this, and it makes sense more with the Discord as a whole instead of suggestions on its own now, is that there is a lot of moments that people are stating or rumoring that Annie isn't really nice to people, and that a lot of videos that are talking about the PSRP plus drama in mind state the following. Number 1, they copy their characters. Number 2, Annie is not nice to the people that they are surrounded with. And number 3, they pretty much are very stressful at all times. Now, this shouldn't be a thing to begin with if you're trying to make a game that would work properly. This tells me that Annie was not prepared around this time to make this game exist. And right here is one of the images from a YouTube comment, which the video itself will be posted in the description. Where do I begin with this? There has been, I would say, around 9 to 10 dramas. Now, I know this sounds very exaggerate, if anything, but it's at least around 6 to 7 dramas that happened. And one of them requires their dedication of a separate video. So I'm not going to explain it as much, but there will be a tiny tidbit here and there as to fit in the timeline with that video whenever it gets remade. The first drama in mind was about Zuler. The TLDR for this is pretty much what the document explains. Number 1, plagiarism is very common, and the main common cause of plagiarism is the fact that Annie got somebody to exploit on their behalf just because the game wasn't updated. Number 2, the way that they're going to update the game is concerning to the people in mind, especially Zuler, if 1, they haven't made a game before, which is actually true in fact. 2, they pretty much haven't had any records from what I can recall moderating or at least taking care of a huge game on Roblox or even a Discord server, mind you. And thirdly, the concern of them doing it solo. And after Zuler spoke about their points, they immediately banned them. So, I will mention this immediately off the bat. You might have not seen a part that talks about Pan, which is shown in the document via the description below, mentioned at all. And that's simple. I am going to be mentioning it in the third video. And that one will be a very heavy work in progress whenever I get to remaking that, because that is probably going to be a very long video, mind you. Not as long as the conclusion, but certainly very long. So be on the lookout for that. This part in particular was about the ban of Fox Furry 1241 and Perry Tyrone 1251. Now they are actually inside the PSRP Plus Discord server to this day, and subsequently they were hanging around with a bunch of admins, moderators, and the owner inside a server. Now, what happened? pretty much they were begging to be a admin or a moderator. Now, due to the fact that they forgot to add the rule in there, which means they pretty much got an unjustifiable ban. Now, common sense, this was a rule in the original PSRP, but it is not a rule written out there set in stone for them to be banned for a month just because they were begging. As you can see at this image right here, the only thing they kept saying was, please give me admin, please give me admin, please give me admin. They said no. They kept saying please. And that's all they mentioned. So 1, inconclusive evidence. And 2, pretty much the rule does not exist in PSRP Plus, meaning a bunch of people could possibly do that, and not just Perry Tyro 1251 or Fox Furry 1241. And then the third thing is that the actions they did in the aftermath. They pretty much banned them on the spot instead of 1, blocking them, or 2, at least kicking them so that they serve a warning. So I decided to add this intersection editor here again. The fact that I mentioned 3 key points with it, which you'll see on the side as mainly just a huge word. So number 1, the fact that they pretty much just didn't really give that much evidence except for them begging. Number 2, mentioned that it used to be in the PSRP rules, though it is not in the PSRP Plus rules. And then thirdly, the aftermath of it, which somebody explained it in a better terms, should have kicked them or at least mute them instead of outright banning them. Because again, the rule does not exist in PSRP Plus. I have no idea why it does not exist, but it doesn't. So there you go. And then this stuff was mentioned before. Annie was pretty much stressed because, again, of my 3 reasonings before I got to this point. This next part is the mentioning from the beginning of how possibly the exploiter got the assets. And I'll do a very short summary for most of these, starting with this one because this one is the longest one out of all of them. Now, at this point, this is my recollection of the experience because the PSRP Discord server was deleted and the only thing that anybody could get was that Hunter was closing it off and they're moving on, and they deleted everything. I was in the PSRP Discord server at that time, and I saw at least 3 people join in at the same time. And they also were verified because one of them used Hunter's account. Now, this got me concerned, along with a few others, stating that there's no way you actually hacked them, right? And then they pretty much said, try me, bro. And then they literally hacked the game to add inappropriate parts to it, to the point that it was under review and it was a blank template. The game, well, the old game itself was unfortunately unsalvageable, but in return, they helped out with a lot of new things that were added into the new game that was redone pretty much with all the stuff that they luckily saved via assets. Not a lot of the aftermath is mentioned here, so I will talk about my... Well, since this is the editor's note. Hello again. Yeah, this part was supposed to be mentioning friend, but... you get the dilemma. If you haven't watched the actual video right here, then I don't know why you haven't caught on by now. But my recollection with the aftermath of it is simple. So, as I mentioned, the game was back up in a new area, not like reopening it after fixing it. Just literally they had to make a new literal game itself, like from the startup. And luckily everybody got VIP after they figured out the way to connect it via linking it. Now, the second thing was that Hunter's account was actually saved because all of his limiteds were practically sold off and all of his items were also deleted. So, thankfully, Roblox recovered his account. The next one is gonna be very small, to be honest, so this one was mainly, again, from my account, from people mentioning this, but apparently during the time when Hunter had PC issues and they were trying to get it fixed, during that time they were hacked again. And for some unknown reason, there was nothing that was very damaging except, here's the coincidental part, the game being made. Here is where the theory comes into play better, and I will explain it. So, here is how the theory goes. And again, editor here. So, during 2022 through 2024 is when the hacking incident occurred. In 2025 is likely where the game was given to Annie. And during that time frame, she started working on the game and developing it, with again some unknown methods. But what one person anonymously told me is that they likely used Roblox AI Assistant to help out. Then, at October of 2025, the game was published. Then afterwards, around, I would say at least a week or a few weeks ago, after that, somebody posted it and acknowledged it via the PSRP forums in the Polysonic RP Discord server. Hunter caught wind of this immediately and basically told Annie to take down the game, along with banning them from the game, banning them from the Discord, and blocking all contact with them. The backlash got so crazy to the point that half of these things were undone. Mainly the blocking and the banning of Annie from the PSRP Discord server and from the game. It is unknown of how long they talked with each other about this, but apparently nothing was done since December 2025, as you might recall, or late November 2025, is when the Hunter incident happened and where Hunter pretty much left the entirety of the internet. Literally everything is gone from Hunter. Now, Annie reinstates the game after this happened. That is why the theory fits better, because the timeline is more consistent. And the fact that during the years of 2022 through 2024, nothing was majorly impacted from those hacking incidents. So, that's why this theory is a very good one at that, because it matches up of when the game was in development, created, and then released. This one is going to be very short because there's literally nobody talking about it now. There used to be a rumor spreading around that Annie was Hunter's ult, which is not the case at all. And yeah, I just mentioned it here because it was very interesting that people back then were mentioning it. So now this one in particular is probably going to be very breezed through and very simple to, actually do something against. But this was when somebody was basically taking these stickers and images and saying that they were claiming it as their own artwork. The person named Axel, as you can see, pretty much took a picture, or at least took the image that they got it from, and put their name on there, even though there's no proof that they own these accounts that are being shown. Sonic4392 made the image right here, and then this one was made by somebody else, first time drawing Sonic the Hedgehog. Ever since the first document came out, however, they have stopped responding anything that has to do with art at all. This part in particular is about positive vibes. I'll explain what positive vibes is. Positive vibes is pretty much in a studio setting or a real life scenario setting, is that pretty much there's no negative criticisms and there's only positive opinions or positive outcomes. And pretty much any idea is not really rejected or not mentioned to be rejected because they want a nice and friendly atmosphere. This is the case with the entirety of Discord now at this point, because they still defend Annie's claim of exploiting the game, and even in the YouTube videos themselves, which will be linked in the description below. So, this was me basically saying that this also is the reason why any lack of moderation happens, because they're following the positive vibe. And the lack of negativity or lack of criticism, which includes banning Zuler by the way, is also the reason why a positive vibes only environment exists as well. In fact, that's why a lot of people back in the day when the server was at its max, by the way, it used to be around like 600, 700, and then a bunch of people left afterwards. This is the reason why. Because they expressed their concerns and they complained about it so much to the point that they, 1, left the server, and 2, they weren't able to go back in, especially when I ever mentioned it in the second document. This is the part that I mentioned beforehand about the whole non-approval for the PSRP Plus game. And right here, this one in particular, they say it themselves admittedly. They do not have Hunter K's approval, much less that of his collaborators. This also includes my friend here, who also did a lot of things for Hunter and even did images. In fact, they even suggested on their artwork to do specific minuscule things, and they loved it. Again, this is the image mentioned about them using a different retake on PSRP Plus, which in this case they were using adventure models. Though unfortunately, this also has the same issue of, number 1, it uses some of the assets stolen from PSRP itself, and number 2, they pretty much just scrapped it entirely ever since PSRP was gone. And then this right here, basically them was admitting that, to the video in the description mind you, that they pretty much admit that it was copied. And that they are trying to improve moderation, and yeah, that's pretty much it, because it's the same argument that's mentioned pretty much in all the documents, so you'll see those as we get along. This one in particular is going to be mentioned in the second video, aka the second document, and that is it. Pretty much, this was the entirety of the first document. Not a lot, and most certainly little, because the next two are even bigger than the first document, and even more, possibly bigger, than the combined first and second documents for the final document made. The one thing I will show is this section right here. And down here is that, again, common tidbit. Nobody read the documents, or they watched the video and never bothered to open the links. So, in retaliation to this, I decided to fully leak the entire DMs with this anonymous person. I even censored the name and left Annie's out. So, there is your proof that Annie admitted to everybody that they got somebody to steal the game for them, and therefore they are a collaborator. So you made it to the end point, like I mentioned before. Again, there is not a lot when it comes to the first document in mind, because the second document, as you will soon see, is entirely a revamp of the first document. So everything that wasn't mentioned in the second document, well, actually, everything not mentioned in the first document is going to be shown in the second document. The drama is entirely in the third document, and that will be way later on. So yeah, thank you for watching, and as the norm, please feel free to comment in the comments down below if you have any questions regarding this, because I'm not afraid to answer any questions.